We'll start. Thank you everybody for coming. We have apologies from Councillor Fox and leave of absence from Alderman Sexton. We don't need to co-opt anyone, no one's here, but we have our quorum. Number 2, confirmation of minutes. Can I have somebody move that? Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Consideration of supplementary items. There are none. Is that correct? Yes, thank you. Number 4, indications of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. Being none, we'll go on to number 5, transfer of agenda items.
Yes, Chair. Could I suggest that we transfer item 6.3 to the front?
Yep.
Because I'm looking forward to that presentation, and I don't think there's any need to delay it at all. And yep, excellent. Do we need to put that?
Yep.
Yep.
Any dissent? No, being none, consider that carried unanimously. So reports, number 6, so we'll go to 6.3, and I'll welcome the members of the... Did you want to sit here, and then perhaps we'll have the Director give us a brief before we commence?
Yeah, thank you. So I thought it was important that we just continue to touch base with you as elected members about the youth programs area, because it does roll on day in, day out, down there at Youth Arc in a range of forms. And so you'll see there from the memo that we've put in front of you, it's been a really busy year this year. I think particularly it's super pleasing to see the numbers of young people that are coming through Youth Arc and that are accessing the programs. I think they're quite impressive statistics. So I was quite keen that elected members that you were able to see this. And look, a really important part, and I won't go through the memo, I'm sure you've all read it, but a really critical part of what we do is the Youth Advisory Squad. As you know, we have a range of consultative committees across the various sectors of our community, and the Youth Advisory Squad forms part, a really important part of that feedback loop for us as council officers, but of course ultimately up to you as elected members as well. So, Chair, with that introduction, I'd now like to hand over to Sophie, who will perhaps just say a few particular words of introduction about YAS.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Chair. So, yes, I will introduce YAS in 1 minute. I just thought we'd run through a few quick pictures of highlights to go with the memo on youth programs very quickly to give you a broader overview. As Tim said, we've had quite good numbers this year, bigger than ever, 9,300 visits to the open access program in the afternoons across the year. And yeah, young people cooking, creative workshops, music studios really popular, and the basketball court. Really it's a social is the biggest part of the program at the moment in that afternoon. For the workshops and creative programs, we've had another 2,300 young people engaged during daytime programming outside of that open access time. Ceramics, cartooning, huge range of different workshops there, and one-on-one mentoring as well, particularly in the music studio. Platform Youth Culture continues to run a range of creative workshops. This was a collaboration with Tas Writers, really building up the skills of some of our emerging writers in the community. And some of those will be published now at Platform magazine, but they're all available online on the website as well. The Young Nipaluna podcast series was a real hit, and ABC Radio played those across NAIDOC Week this year, which was fantastic. And we've just launched, Halima is actually one of our squad members and was the first exhibitor in our fantastic new Yark gallery. And we had really great attendance from the Muslim community in particular, but really good to see her work showcased there. We have a new one up now, and that will continue to change over. With Art on Victoria, we've had 10 young artists put their artwork out in this space. And again, almost all of these artists, well, for each of them, it's the first time they've exhibited in a public space, so it's always a really important opportunity. Light Up the Lane, we had 1,700 people came through this event earlier in the year, and we got really strong feedback just saying that it's a really unique and diverse event for the city, and particularly for young people. 70 young artists with digital art and another 30 performing at the event. And yes, so this is one of our other programs outside of those creative programs where we have leadership opportunities. And today I'll first introduce Zoe, who's our longest standing member currently on the squad, who will introduce the rest of her team and give us an introduction as to what they've been up to this year. Thank you, Zoe.
Thanks, Sophie. As Sophie mentioned, I've been part of YAS for quite a while. This is my 4th year, I believe. So I've obviously seen the group change and who's involved and the things that we're involved in change a bit. We meet fortnightly. We do a whole bunch of programs. We get involved with a whole bunch of different things and help to kind of provide our feedback on different areas of the work you guys do. And so we wanted to just update you on the things that we've been involved in so far this year.
Thank you. So this year at the 2021's Light Up the Lane event, we set up a range of engagement tools to kind of ascertain what it is that, you know, concerns the young people of Australia, or not Australia, Hobart in particular. And we received a lot of, bigger issues such as, wanting more climate change actions or like better mental health care. We really learned a lot at that kind of, event, that there's big things on people's minds. We also supplied a decent handful of, feedback for the new bus shelter proposals. We also, as a group, we attended a conflict resolution training to kind of learn new methods of handling conflict and how to, I guess, communicate with people, how to better use our abilities. Is this the next person?
And following on from this feedback, the group wanted to understand more about youth people's mental health and well-being, and to hear what young people would like to see improve in this area. Our Matters of the Mind is our major initiative, stem from the feedback and interaction from Light of the Lane. We discovered that one of the most pressing issues youths in Hobart are facing is the issue of youth's mental health and the system in place to help those in need. We have created a survey, to direct feedback from those aged 12 to 21 about their needs, experiences and hopes regarding mental health issues. A number of representatives from YAS attended the Tasmanian Youth Forum, where they met young people from around the state to discuss transport. The group provided strong feedback on the challenges facing young people in accessing affordable and timely public transport and gave a number of great ideas for action. A report collating this feedback has been developed by the Youth Network of Tasmania.
Oh, the oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Oh.
You're on the last bit. Zoe.
Oh yes. I already discussed that.
Okay, so finally, one of the big things that we've been trying to do is improve our engagement with young people through social media. So we have a few different social media pages that we've been working on, really trying to connect with young people. As part of this, we've tried to develop YAS into more of a brand. We developed our logo and made our t-shirts to really help promote, and these were used to then put out the call for new members to try and build the group up, because at the start of the year we only had about 2 or 3 members. We were also involved in the Youth Network of Tasmania's We've Got This campaign, which led up to the start of Youth Week 2021. So this campaign was designed to share the stories of young people and successes throughout the past year with COVID. So we put together a little write-up about the program that we ran while we were all in lockdown last year, where we the competition where we got people to creatively express their experiences and their thoughts about lockdown. And it was just a really good way of still being able to engage with young people despite not being able to meet in person and not being able to talk to other young people in person.
So do you have any personal reflections on a highlight this year for any of you? Final word? Anyone? No?
As a YAS
Well done.
member.
As a yes
would-
member,
yeah.
yes, you know.
I just joined YAS this August, so I've been trying to contribute as much as I can. But it's really fulfilling to be a part of YAS because I can find a sense of belongingness in the community, and it feels like a platform where I can actually do something, get things done, and just rather than just dreaming or planning about things, you know, and utilize whatever little skills I have for the benefit of the people around me. So it's been great, and everyone has been so supportive and making me feel comfortable. Thank you.
Yeah. Similar to Ipshita, I also joined recently this year. I don't exactly remember the month, sadly, but yeah, almost the exact same as you. You know, just the fact that you can feel as if you're like making, you know, positive changes in the community, kind of understand what's going on. It's good. It's very fulfilling. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously I've been part of YAS for a fair bit longer than the rest of the people here today, but for me, I think it's always about how every year the group changes, but there's always, despite how diverse it is, there's always kind of a common theme of we want to help young people in Hobart get the most out of their experiences in Hobart. And I think that really shows in the work we've been doing towards our Matters of the Mind project, in that we're really pushing forward with trying to make a change and trying to be that voice for young people that has always been the reason I've been a part of YAS.
I too have only joined quite recently to YAS, like Evan and Ipshita. I was ringed in at the Tasmanian Youth Forum, which we spoke about. It was an amazing event, and I was new to Hobart at the time, so I was looking for some, just a group to sort of welcome me into Hobart and make me feel at home, and I definitely found one. And yes, the just inspiring social change is just a bonus, I guess.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was so wonderful to hear from all of you, and just so delightful to hear your stories and the reasons why you've joined, and it's really wonderful. So thank you so much for taking the time and coming to speak to us today. I do love the t-shirts. I want one. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, thanks very much for your presentation today. I really appreciate it, and I think we've had Yas present to us a few times. Now you were here last year, I think.
Yeah, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a couple of years. Yeah, yep. Can I ask a question? I just want to link some things together. For the issues you raised that resonate with me, it was climate change. You mentioned that, conflict resolution, mental health, and social engagement. Are they all linked? So climate change is your cohort talking about climate change from an anxiety perspective or about it from an action perspective? And how do you see Hobart's reaction and action towards solving it or responding to it? Have you got a view? Have you spoken about what you'd like to see this council do to respond to climate change?
Do you want me to take this, because I know that it's something that's been discussed in previous YAS groups in previous years. About 2 years ago, I think it was the top issue, because there was a few YAS members who were very, very passionate about climate change. And I think definitely, yes, the climate anxiety thing was something that people expressed was a big issue. And then there's the obvious links to the mental health issues. And I think part of what I hear from other young people is that they just want to see evidence that people are caring about what's happening, and that it is like being looked into. And I think a lot of young people don't necessarily know exactly what the change they want to see happen is, but the fact that they don't feel that they see any change is what keeps causing that anxiety to rise. So I think it's really about like yeah.
So do you need more positive stories coming from council to try and lift, what people are feeling? From our perspective, what can we do to help alleviate some of that anxiety? Like, I know we've got a climate change strategy. It's a Sustainable Hobart Action Plan. We've reinforced that on Monday with regard to what additional things we could do, but also we'd like your guidance as well, I think. So if you guys wanted to look at those strategies and give us some feedback and help direct us, then I'd be really open to receiving that. And if it can help work on the mental health stuff, terrific. So over to you. You don't have to respond now, but yeah. Yeah.
The squad are planning to also write a report early next year, so once they get past exams, based on this survey data that they're collecting at the moment on mental health, and so that would come back to council with some recommendations. So that's,
Great. Yeah,
that's what we're working towards at the moment. So we could take on notice.
all right. Yeah, look forward to that. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Dutta.
Thank you, Chair. Just one question. I never heard of this youth arc ever, and I was in this country for a long time and in the state. It is only when I joined council that I heard. How do you, or how have you heard about this, and how do you promote this? Yeah.
I wouldn't know. As a volunteer, I just kind of started doing work there more or less, and that's kind of how I got introduced to YAS. I'm not really a high level, I guess, employee at Youth Arc.
I think I also didn't know much about Youth Arc until I joined YAS, and that just came through. I think my mum saw an ad on the council Facebook page advertising the opportunity, and I think we're trying to use social media to promote both YAS and Youth Arc more, but I do feel that there's a certain kind of group of people who know about it more than other groups would, and yeah, I do.
Yeah, word of mouth in certain groups.
Yeah, it really gets the.
As someone who grew up in, I guess, Tasmania all my life, it's just something I heard about when I was younger. I went there a few times when I was, maybe in high school. It was more or less just somewhere where people just kind of went, and it was just something that was locally known, just word of mouth. I don't think I've seen much advertising for it. It's just something people sort of know about. It's yeah.
And just one further question. Councillor Harvey mentioned about two of the issues in there. I just wanted to ask another question with regards to conflict resolution. Would you be able to organize yourselves and come and conduct a conflict resolution here for us as council?
You're all qualified now.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could do that for us?
Maybe.
You can analyse the tapes in your free time.
Very good.
Educational experience, that's for sure. Just avoiding being combative was the main, I guess, overall underall of the conflict resolution training. It's just better to not, be full on with people and, try to sort things out, try to, bargain. I think that was one of them. It was bargaining. There was seven forms of conflict resolution. It was bargaining, being combative, being passive, just, yeah. Yeah. No.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to have you all here, and thank you so much for your presentation. Well done. Thank you. Can I have somebody receive and note that, please?
Happy to move.
Councillor Harvey, thank you. Any dissent? No, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So now we'll move on to 6.1, Orange Sky Laundry Town Hall operation. Director, would you like to give us an overview of this before I put the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Look, this is a really good initiative. I'm sure elected members have an awareness of Orange Sky Laundry, and they do provide or aim to provide a regular service for people that are sleeping rough or just have some issues in accessing, I guess, a laundry service with that opportunity to have just clean clothes once a week or more. So what we have here is a proposal that Orange Sky Laundry would operate from the Town Hall parking deck one night a week, probably a Thursday night, for maybe 2 hours. And this has come about because they were operating close to the Safe Night Space when the Safe Night Space was at Youth Arc. Of course, we all know Safe Night Space have now moved along the road into Davey Street, but it's not particularly a safe area to sit up on Davey Street to have the Orange Sky Laundry. So staff have come up with a really good proposal, which is to pop it on the parking deck. It would require some access to power and some access to wastewater disposal, but we're confident we can accommodate that. And being on the parking deck too, I think really interestingly, it provides the opportunity perhaps for some of the other service providers to also attend on that night, like Louis Van and so on. So I would commend this one to you, Chair. I think this is a very good initiative.
Thank you very much, Director. Can I have somebody move that motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Harvey. I'm really delighted about this. This is a really great initiative. I think it's wonderful. I'm so glad it's come to this committee. Any questions, comments?
I think that in the report it said through you, Chair, it was a Thursday night. So I'm assuming Thursday. What time did we say it would be?
Chair, through you, I think, is Mr. Joseph in the room? He might have know the times.
It's here, I just forgot.
Through you, Chair, Orange Sky indicated to us around 6:30 to 8:30 at night, but they're flexible with that.
Yeah, okay. So this, and on that particular night, there's no demand for the parking out there, I don't think, is there?
We've met with the hallkeeper and
yep.
she's assured us that best time.
Great, yep. Okay, yeah, I'm supportive of this. Through you, Chair. Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph. Any further?
Yeah, just one question, Chair. So who funds this? Is it just voluntary, or there are funding by other organisations?
Chair, through you, I might throw to Mrs. Parker or Mr. Joseph on that one.
Through you, Chair, it is a purely voluntary organisation.
Thank you very much. Wonderful initiative, thank you. And moved by Councillor Harvey. Any dissent? No, being none, I consider that carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And now we'll move on to 6.2, Safe City Hub, and we'll have Director Peter Carr to give us a brief on that before I put the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is an update for committee about the progress of one of the key projects that was initially adopted by Council, supported by Council back in 2019. So the Safe City Hub is the physical facility at the heart of the Safe City program. So there's a number of elements to this. The Safe City program, information about the program is available on Council's website. So if you just go to the Council website and look at Safe City, you'll see all the information there about the program. The Safe City Hub was a part of the program. It's a physical facility that sits on the 3rd floor of the annex building of Council, and development of that facility has been undertaken by Council, but supported by a successful grant received from the federal government for about $1 million. And the intent of the Safe City Hub was to enhance the public safety of the city. So development of the Safe City Hub has been undertaken over the last year and a half. Officers, probably 2 years actually, because there were a number of site visits undertaken to City of Perth, City of Sydney, and City of Adelaide in terms of similar facilities, so that we could understand the way these programs operate in other capital cities. In terms of the physical facility itself, it's the hub for the city's CCTV network, and over the last 12 to 18 months, we've undertaken upgrades of the city's security infrastructure. So we now have approximately 270 camera streams which feed into the Safe City Hub on level 3. It's a locked down facility, meaning it only is accessible by a certain number of staff who are compliant with the necessary sort of privacy procedures put in place to operate that kind of facility. It's also a multi-purpose facility, so we've built it so that it can be accessed by city partners, including Tasmanian Police and Tasmanian Fire and Emergency Services, for major city events like the Christmas pageant or for emergency situations. And as part of the program, for the first time, we've managed to put in place a memorandum of understanding with the Tasmanian Police, who don't have this kind of infrastructure and obviously are key partners in the management of public safety across the city. So they're happy beneficiaries of the work undertaken as part of this federal grant as well. The last thing I would say is that there are a number of other functions that the Safe City Hub will perform. It will be essentially the Identity and Access Office, where new staff and contractors to council will go to receive their access credentials so that they can get into different buildings and facilities around council. It will also serve as an analytics hub, because the cameras that are put in place now gives us some great capability in terms of providing data and information to our planning division, for example, about traffic volumes and pedestrian activity in certain parts of the city, so that we can undertake critical and strategic planning for the continual improvements of our built environment. So we're coming to committee at this stage because the work for the Safe City Hub is largely complete, and it does tick off one of the initiatives in the Connected Hobart Action Plan. And I guess the final thing I would say is that we'll probably ask the committee to consider we could make a slight alteration to the recommendation for this. I did send it through earlier today, Chair, but I'm happy to read it out again. And the reason for the change is purely for what I said earlier, that we're not actually seeking approval from council for this, because approval was previously obtained back in 2019. It was obviously necessary for us to go through that grant process. We've successfully received the grant, we've done the work, we're now looking to acquit. So the recommendation that I would suggest, or the change for your consideration, would be that council acknowledge completion of action CCS02 of Pillar 2 of the Connected Hobart Action Plan. So it's really acknowledgement of completion of that. And the report also talks about with this completion, we will now look to take elected members through the facility, and there will also be an appropriate launch with some of our key stakeholders and funders, which will include Senator Wilkie, and when we can line up a visit from the Federal Minister as well.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Any question? Oh, so can I have some?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Chair. I'm happy to move that amended motion, and I get the reason why. I also remember the grant funding event that occurred down at Salamanca, and I had the opportunity to speak to the director and also one of our officers with regard to what Mr. Carr's just explained to us as well. So I've heard it twice now, and I think it's a necessary thing we need in the city. Like, if you had have asked me 10 years ago, I probably would have argued against CCTV cameras everywhere, but I do see the value, and I also understand the restricted access to that footage, to that room. But I just will ask for clarification. You mentioned, Mr. Carr, access, that there will be access for police and fire authorities, and that's not direct access, that's access to footage on request.
Through you, Chair, yes, that's correct. So this has been a staged rollout, and part of the process of that has been to establish necessary operational procedures to run a facility like this, which has included development of a procedure for both the public or for the public to request access to footage, and also for a memorandum of understanding for council to work with Tasmanian police in terms of utilising the services now available to the city.
Mm. And wasn't also back in 2019 there's some discussion around having a code of ethics around use of footage, and is that a specific code, or is it just I don't know, accepted in the way we function here with the regulations around it?
Yeah, so through you, Chair, we undertook a number of activities in relation to that. I mentioned the site visits to the other capital city facilities, and so there are some standards that needed to be met in terms of the physical facilities, and there was also a range of consultation, if you like, and so some of that consultation was with local civil liberties stakeholders, and also the development of the specific Safe City page on the website with full transparency about what is in the program and how citizens can engage with it was part of that as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's available on you just said it's available on our council page that refers to this.
Yep, okay. It's live now.
Yeah, okay, yep. All right, I'll have to check it out. Okay, thanks, Mr. Carr.
Thank you. Any further questions? No, I'll put that. Any dissent? No, being none, I consider that carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Carr. 6.4, I'll ask the director to give us just a brief overview on this as well before I have somebody move the item. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. So this is a request to make, I guess, a trial change that we brought in last year. We'd like to make it permanent. Committee might recall, out of COVID and the adjustments to the community grants that we undertook last year, we temporarily suspended the Creative Hobart Quick Response Grant stream, which had a total pool available of $11,000 and a maximum individual grant of $1,000. We moved that into the Creative Hobart Small Grant stream, and that was on the basis of feedback from the creative sector. And committee might recall that one of the things that council asked staff to do last year was to seek a consultative group of both a business community, but also to seek a creative sector consultative group. This is one of the pieces of feedback that the creative sector consultative group gave our staff, is that while the quick response grant is a nice idea, it's actually perhaps a bit small to be effective anymore. And so there was a suggestion that we move that into the small grant stream. That has a maximum individual grant of $5,000 as opposed to $1,000, and it was considered that's a more meaningful amount for a small project. So you'll see in the report, the view of officers is that actually went quite well as a trial, and seem to be much better accepted by the creative community. So, as all good trials do, Chair, we'd now like to come back and suggest to you, well, actually it worked, so we would like to make that change permanent.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments? I have somebody, Councillor Dutta, would you like to move this item?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, thank you. Any comments, questions?
I'm happy with the change. Yep.
Great, thank you. Any dissent? No, consider that unanimously carried. 6.5, applications approved under the delegated authority of the CEO. Can I have somebody?
Happy to move.
Thank you. Consider that. Any dissent? No, consider that
Chair,
carried.
could I just
Yes.
provide a comment on that? Just for,
Yes,
just
sure.
for the information of committee,
Yeah.
since this report was written, we've now been advised that the Lenna Valley Community Group have withdrawn their application for a Community Christmas Carols grant.
Okay.
I understand they've decided they are not in a position to be able to organise the event and take that forward. So those funds will now remain unallocated.
Chair, I did actually have
Yes.
a question.
Yes, Councillor Harvey.
Can I just confirm the next round of urban sustainability grants and how much is available? Is it the same as this year?
Through you, Chair, I think Louisa Gordon, are you in the chamber there?
Yeah, Louise.
We might need to take that on notice unless Louisa does know the answer.
Through you, Chair, it is an annual grant, so it's offered once a year, and yes, it would be at the moment. It will be at the same level of funding, unless there is an increase to that in the next financial year.
Okay, because I'm just thinking, should it go up by marginally every year just to keep up with inflation and all that sort of stuff? And how would we go about doing that? So when it comes back to us as part of the budget process, I assume it'll just have the same number written next to it as a line item. Is that correct?
Chair, through you, none of the grants are CPI indexed, and so that would be a decision for the council if it wished to make that. I think our suggestion would be, if you're going to do it for one grant, though, you would need to consider that approach for all grants.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any dissent on the item? No, being none, I consider that unanimously carried. 6.6, applications approved under the delegated authority of the Director of Community Life. Can I have somebody receive and note that? Councillor Harvey, thank you. Any dissent? No, being none, I consider that unanimously carried. Number 7, committee action status report 7.1. Can I have somebody move that item, please? Councillor Harvey. Any dissent on that item? No. Consider that carried unanimously. Number 8, questions without notice. Are there any? Being none, I'll move to number 9, closed portion.
Hold on,
Oh,
Chair.
sorry. Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, just a question. In the recent few weeks, there has been some criticism with regards to funding to some of these art groups. Now, wondering if there has been a response to those statements or criticisms made. Can you take a position, or some sort of explanation been given?
Chair, through you, there has been some response that has been addressed directly back to the person that asked those questions. And I also note that there was some discussion about it in the Mercury newspaper last week, where they also invited one of the successful recipients of the grants to respond to that commentary. So yes, there has been a response.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I think there was quite a very strong editorial arguing against the views of a certain person. I think the word Philistine was used in that editorial as well, yes.
Thank you for that contribution. 9, can somebody move that we close the...
Happy to
Thank
move that.
you, Councillor Harvey.